It's 23 minutes after 7. Welcome to my banner on Hotline. This week, the documentary is about climate refugees. And this documentary highlights the distraction that the sea level rise is causing some coastal communities, and the concentration in this particular one is Tidal. But following that, different things have come up. For instance, this rise in sea level is even going to rise further later this year. Did you know that? If you live around the coastal community, or you know somebody who lives there, what are you supposed to do? I mean, how bad is the situation going to get? My colleague Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who did this documentary, is right here with me in studio. Hi, Joseph. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, definitely. And Nana Kumi Menta is a coastal researcher. He's also done a lot of work in this area. We'll seek his views on some of the things that we will watch later on in excerpts that Joseph has given us. But good morning to you, Nana.
Okay,
thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Joseph, let's start off this way. Why did you go to Ada?
Okay, so the focus of it has been this general concern that as a result of climate change and global warming and our activities as humans, the emissions of fossil fuel into the atmosphere, there is the situation of the environment getting a bit warmer, and as a result of that, the concerns are that somewhere in the middle of the ocean, the ice glaciers are melting. It's resulting in the amount of water in the sea itself increasing, and the resulting effect of this is that it's taking over a lot of coastal communities across the country. It's flooding their homes. Occasionally there are incidents of tidal waves which end up worsening the situation and all of that. And so we set out to a number of coastal communities in the country. In fact, for the full documentary itself, we were in the Ada area, we were in the Volta region as well, Fuvema, Achitachi, the Keta area itself, where the situation has been quite bad. And so we put together stories about homes that have been submerged over certain periods. In one of the communities, for example, they showed us that up to like 400 meters of land area had been taken over the duration, and homes had been submerged and all of that. So we told those stories, and then we infused it with a bit of how some of those whose houses have been submerged are struggling to survive as a result of this. And so in summary, that's what the documentary has been about.
But Nana, you've also been observing and doing your own kind of research. So what kind of era are we in now in terms of the weather, in terms of the situation?
For now, we are in the rough season. The rough season is from July to October, and then the wave heights and then the wave periods are really not favorable enough.
Okay.
So like I watched his documentary, the one that he did the last time. That was last year. There was a tidal wave somewhere in the Volta region around this area. So looking at the waves now is not a good period for people to just stay around and just watch, because anything can happen. It's something that really occurs annually. It happened last year, even in February it happened again. But what happened in February was as a result of the position of the sun. Remember in February there was something like a heat wave and all that. That's what caused the one over that happened in February. In that he showed on his documentary in the Volta region. Yeah. But the whole situation is, the history behind the whole thing is that that area is a low-lying area. It's within the fragile section of the coastline. The whole eastern section, that is from Aflao all the way to the Laloli Lagoon in Pampram, is a low-lying area, and then it has a soft geology, which means that the material over there are still in transport. So definitely it's very, very low, and then to when the wave and everything goes high as a result of climate change and everything, you have this tidal waves occurring along that stretch. That's why you're having it occurring that way. Why people are losing their properties and everything over there.
Okay.
So that in the full documentary, for example, you would hear explanations by another expert, Dr. Apianinado at the University of Ghana, and what is pointing to the quality of soil around some of the coastal areas. Then it brings in this whole issue of sand winning, which appears to be making the problem even worse off. A lot of these communities, a lot of the sand along the coast has been swept off and used in the construction of buildings and all of that. So Dr. Apianinado explains that is really making the problem worse off. And in the latter part of the full documentary, we'll get reaction from government ministers, the voter regional minister, and a few other government officers have been commenting on that, and well, providing the assurances that some of those human activities like sand winning that have made the problem a bit worse off in areas like the voter region will be dealt with going forward, so that we help contain the situation. Okay.
Well, the full documentary will start showing this evening.
Yes, at 6:30 p.m.
At 6:30 p.m.
That'll be the first part of it, and then in fact, the more juicy part of the story is actually airing tomorrow. That's also at 6:30 p.m. here on Joy News. And so the stories are in two parts. For example, what we found in the voter region were stories about homes and, you know, communities completely submerged. The community, for example, Popowo is a community which, you know, was a whole polling station on itself. Hundreds of people live there. The entire community is gone. In the areas like Ada that we'll be showing this evening, for example, we have situations of some of the houses gone, but the even more troubling aspect is that as the sea, you know, moved closer to the communities, it swept volumes of sand into homes. So a lot of the houses along the coast are no longer habitable, and so the people have had to move in. It come with its own social consequences and all of that. A very interesting
so
story.
Here are excerpts of that. I mean, that's the good thing for us in the morning. We get to see a bit of what will be shown later on this evening. So here we go with excerpts of Joseph's latest documentary.
Most of these people and infrastructure have been submerged as the level of the sea rises each passing day, thanks to climate change.
There are two reasons why the sea level rise. The first one is, in simple terms, very, very, very simple terms, when there is warming, the sea expands. Okay, it expands, and as it expands, it's like bubbling, not with the physical eye, and so it spills over. The second thing is that we have ice. We had the Arctic and Antarctic very highly frozen, and these are all thinning because of warming of our environment. So that the ice is melting and it is filling our seas. They have nowhere to go. And so when it does that, it just rises. And so the underlying communities, the deltas, they suffer.
Ada Totope in the Greater Accra region is a community with a population of about 3,000 people. It is located on the Ada Peninsula, uniquely sandwiched between the sea and the Songo Lagoon. The main livelihood of residents here is fishing. Theophilus Agbakla is the chief of the community.
Now the village, about some 15 years, 20 years ago, was about 1.5–2 kilometers away from the sea. But today, as you see, it is less than 20 meters. Why? Because of the sea erosion.
Ada Totope has seen the sea break down and wash away close to a dozen homes over the last 30 years. But an even greater number of homes has been buried in the sand. As the sea moves closer to the settlements, it sweeps loads of sand into homes to the extent that they are no longer habitable. What I see here are lots of roofless brick structures with sand in them, reaching as high as the window level.
Now if you just look behind, you see my father's house, which is completely buried. So we had to relocate. My father himself is no more. I had to relocate. And you know, when we talk of relocation, you know the social problem that it will pose.
Those who used to live here now have to put up with family and friends on the other side of town, crowding themselves into small rooms in compound houses without basic amenities like toilet facilities. Simon Dogbe is a carpenter and has 8 children. He used to live in a 5-bedroom house beside the sea here. After their home was repeatedly flooded with seawater and filled with sand to the window level, they had no option but to move out of here in 2005.
Yeah.
What he's saying is that 10 years ago, the sea was a little far away from here. And they have a family of about 20 people living here. But they had to relocate because of the effect of the sea erosion.
This used to be the roofing of the house, which was very high above. This used to be the upper part of the structure. What we're seeing here are the windows of the structure as it used to exist more than 10 years ago. Well, below the window level, all the rest of the structure, which most likely is as tall as what is left at the top of it, have actually been buried right under the sand, rendering this structure inhabitable and rendering the thousands of cities that those who built it had invested into this particular structure a wasted amount. This again is the entrance to this structure as it used to exist then. You can see the cracks in the building and all of that, but now we see only the top part of the structure. The other lower parts have all been submerged deep down the sand, which has been swept onto this side of the shore thanks to the rise in the sea level. Let's get inside and see how the inner part of this structure looks like. Again, a lot of sand filling up the entire place, making it impossible for the residents who used to live here to continue habiting here. This is not the only home that is gone. I meet 50-year-old John Mauji. He has 2 wives and 8 children. Poor fisherman Mauji talks about his struggle to build his home over a period of 30 years. But it all became a fruitless adventure 5 years ago. The sea took it.
My house has been destroyed by the sea, and I'm living with friends. I don't even have any place to stay.
Be say mi kapidi amak bonolo alopedi
Wo pleke nge bake.
wo enge fiale nge chumi selenge chu esisi tua gbe chu esisi.
The sea was coming, and the volume of water that was coming was so huge that he was trying to salvage his children, his properties, and people were hurt. He himself was hurt, the wife was hurt, and finally he had to quit and go and live with friends.
It's a community battered by the sea, and there's a lot of wreckage all around here. Many landlords here have become tenants. Rich men and women have been left destitute. 61-year-old Tete Hoka was born here.
They affected very, very much.
All right, it's more like stop watching now. I know you are into it, but catch the longer version of this at 6:30 p.m. That will only be part 1 of Joseph's documentary, which is Climate Refugees. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is here with me in studio, as well as Nana Kuma-Menta, who is a coastal researcher. So we've seen a bit of what you will show later this evening. Yes. What do you intend this documentary to do, really?
In the fuller documentary, we spoke to a climate change expert at the University of Ghana, Professor Chris Gordon, and he was, drawing the correlation between this problem that we're facing and then the whole concern about climate change. And he had a number of concerns that in this country, we, for example, adopted a national climate change adaptation policy, which is a document that came into force, I think, like 2 to 3 years ago, over a 5-year period. He makes the point that in terms of signing on to all the international conventions and committing to the Paris Agreement and all of that, we've done a lot in terms of showing commitment on paper to help deal with the problem of climate change.
We're expecting that.
Yes, but he's not seeing much on the ground. And he cites a number of examples. He for example, talks about a lot of these very huge vehicles that government officials are bringing in, and he was very particular with government officials, and he goes on to make the point that he felt that government should be showing example in terms of commitment to helping protect the environment. So a lot of all these huge vehicles, V8s, burning a lot of fuel, releasing fossil into the atmosphere, thereby increasing global warming. He thinks that should stop, He also talks about a lot of Accra's afforestation areas, which have been taken over and turned into urban houses, because the point is that when you have a lot of these green areas, the scientists say that helps absorb carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and release oxygen to the atmosphere. So that helps deal with the problem of global warming and climate change and all of that. Unfortunately, and Prof. Gordon specifically mentions the Achimota area, where there is an ongoing battle between government and the school officials, because efforts are ongoing to take over that particular area to use for urban housing, and makes the point that there is the need for us all to reserve the green zones and all of that, because the importance of it is that it helps to protect the atmosphere. So going forward, the expectation is that all of us see the impact that climate change is having on us, because most of the times you think it's a very abstract topic. We don't understand it. You're not exactly seeing the effects. Something that it's even an absurd theory, and that it's probably people elsewhere who should be helping deal with it. But we all have roles to play in helping deal with it. So it's about time we all start thinking around the topic and thinking of how we can do in our own individual ways to help protect the environment and keep us.
Now, one of the questions I wanted to ask, even before Joseph said, you know, what he said now, is this our doing? Is this something that we've naturally done over the period?
Yeah, some part of it is our own doing. Like as he said, the sand winning activities is our own doing, is our own fault. And then we also don't have proper planning in place, because there are certain areas that you cannot do without having this kind of tidal wave actions and erosions over there. So what should have been done first of all is people shouldn't have been allowed to settle along those areas where the sediments are in transport. For instance, where the video that you showed, right, there are certain parts of Adan where you have seen some coastal protection works going on there, and it has been completed. Those areas have been protected.
As in sea defense walls.
Yeah, sea defense walls.
That's the coastal protection.
Yeah. Some areas have been protected, and they are not really having and feeling the
Is that the answer? Because we got some defense also in Qatar.
Yeah, there's that's not the only answer. We need to come together and put a holistic plan together to deal with that solution. Because if you protect just a section of that area, it's going to move to another section. That's what's happening, because the wave conditions from Pram Pram to Kita is almost all the same. So if you're having bad waves in Adan, it's going to be bad waves in Kita as well. So if, let's say, the sections of Kita which have been protected by the sea defense wall is not going to experience this action that we just saw on the TV. So what we should do is we put in proper planning measures to come up with proper management plans to solve this problem.
So I asked Joseph, can we just build a wall along the whole? I mean, if that's the solution.
You cannot build a wall along the whole. That's not the solution. There are certain areas that don't need a sea defense wall. There are certain areas that can feed the sea defense wall downdrift. So that's you need to put in a shoreline management plan to be able to deal with it. It's like you have your house, and there's a gutter in front of your house. If you just make a gutter to protect your house, what's going to happen? The next house who doesn't have a gutter will have the effect of how the water is draining down. That's how it is. So we need to understand the whole area very well, and then we put in proper measures to deal with it.
Okay. And in fact, in the discussion, the whole concern about raising sea defense wall as a solution to this problem came up, so that, for example, Professor Chris Gordon that I made reference to earlier was citing a very classical example. The Keta area, the sea defense wall that has been built there is just about 10 kilometers long. So it helped protect the Keta central area itself. Now, this 10-kilometer sea defense wall, and the sea defense wall are just, and you see it in the full documentary, stones that have, so they dig trenches, they put in a number of rocks, and then some of the rocks are again lying on top of it. They put a few linings in there. So this sea defense wall of 10 kilometers in Keta cost $80 million. $80 million. Now, Ghana's entire coastline is something in the thousands in terms of the length. So if a 10-kilometer coastline is costing you $80 million, and you want to build defenses along the entire stretch of Ghana, obviously it's unsustainable. But then the discussion about politics sometimes not helping the issues also comes in. Classical example, and you see it in the portion of the document that will be played tomorrow. One area called Fuveme, more than 50% of the community's land is gone. Now, in the latest incident, that was sometime in February, when a lot of the water moved ashore and homes were destroyed and all of that, the district assembly took a decision that we want to relocate the residents from the area to another area because they can't stand it anymore. Now, the people said they won't go, but the district security council they had already taken a decision to move these people. And this is the interesting bit. The people said they won't go. Weeks after the district security council had taken a decision to relocate the people, and the people were resisting, and there were plans to possibly use force to relocate them, the Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing, Dr. Kwekwajiman Mensah, went to the area.
That's a then minister.
He's still the minister. Dr. Kwekwajiman Mensah is still the minister. This is something which happened back in February, March. And Dr. Kwekwajiman Mensah told the people that, okay, if you say you won't go, well, the political leadership in Accra backs you, don't go. We'll come and build sea defense walls to help protect you. So they shouldn't go. So the people are still there. They've not moved. Meanwhile, the sea defense walls are not coming up. And the construction of some of these things take a bit of time. You can finish it in a week or two. And so chances are that, as Nana is warning, next month, later this month, when the situation gets worse, the people will be hit again. Just maybe the decision by the District Security Council to relocate them was the way out, but political expediency.
But why did the people want? Why
they had concerns. They said that they are mainly a fishing community, and the issues were that they were being relocated to an area where they would not have access to the sea to continue their fishing activities. And so for them it was a major issue. But from the understanding we got, the district assembly managed to get another portion of land that was actually also by the sea. So then the discussions will continue that, okay, if you don't want a land which is not by the sea, we can get you one which is by the sea and all of that. But even that, now the people have an upper hand because the minister from Accra has come to promise them sea defense. But we will see.
But now what's the situation with the coming days and weeks and months? What would we begin to see?
For now we are in the rough season now. And then today I just checked on my phone. We have waves. We are expecting waves of up to 1.5 meters. But if you
what does that mean? 1.5 meters. What does that mean?
That's the wave height.
Okay.
Yes, and then the wave period is 14 seconds, which is not really good because if you're having a wave period of 16 seconds, that's very dangerous. That's where you can easily have a tidal wave occurring. Yeah.
Okay. So what should the people do? I mean, I know we're talking big things about sea defense and stuff like that, but beyond that, the ordinary person who lives there. Okay, what the ordinary person who lives there should do now, especially where the people didn't want to move away, is they should just try and move away from that area, because for now we don't know what's going to happen. The sea defense is not yet in to protect them. So they should just try and listen to what the district executive told them and move away from it. If after October and then nothing happens, they can just come back and do whatever they want during the calm season. Okay. Yeah. So between now and October, that's the unpredictable season. We don't know yet what could happen.
Yeah, that's the rough season. Yeah.
And in fact, the trend over the years has been that around that time of the year, from September, October, the situation gets worse, and it's a trend that's been observed over the last 4 or 5 years, and then the indication is that from late August, September, October, then the tidal waves are stronger, the sea level rise is a bit higher, and homes get destroyed and all of that. And so you see, the problem is that we are trying to solve this problem with one straight-jacketed solution: sea defense walls. So every single community you visit that is being affected by this talks about sea defense walls. But as you mentioned, what we need is a coastal management plan. So something beyond sea defense wall, including possible relocation of homes. And so we know that this area gets hit every year, and every year 5-10 houses go. So if the first 5-10 houses are gone, chances are the next year the next 5-10 houses will go. So move them. It's as simple as that. So a holistic plan, that involves relocation, sea defense walls, and other possible measures.
Nana, do you see us having a holistic plan?
Yeah, we can do it.
But do we have it? No.
I don't think we have it, but people have it now. Yeah.
What would it cost for us to have such a plan?
Okay, it will cost a lot, but then it will be very sustainable than what is currently happening. Because for now we have they look at the critical areas, then they put in a sea defense wall. Then critical. But
in fact, they look at the areas where the media also pays attention to,
like
where the people make noise. Yes,
no,
that's what happens.
For me,
and then the people are crying, and we step in there. That's when officials also come and do something.
Yeah, but in the Kita area is a low-lying area, so definitely that's what's going to happen. It's inevitable. So if they identify the critical areas, as you said, 10 kilometers, then they put a sea defense wall there. Then you get to Adan, I think there's a sea defense wall over there, which is like 20 kilometers. So they identify the critical areas and then they construct the sea defense wall over there. But what we don't know is that if you identify a critical area and you put the sea defense wall there, you get to the next section of that low-lying area which has not been protected, there is going to be a knock-on effect over there. That's why we need an integrated shoreline management plan to put everything together, to integrate all the plans together, to ensure that we put in sustainable plans to deal with this kind of situation.
Do we have the expertise in Ghana?
Yeah, we have the expertise in Ghana. Yeah.
In terms of putting up the plan and all of that, yes, I also think we do have the expertise. In fact, there's something that looks like a plan. When you look at the National Climate Change Adaptation Policy that I made reference to earlier, it's a very bulky document. So it talks about how to deal with the problem in the long term.
Is it relevant to us? I mean, is that based on what we experience here?
Very, very relevant.
Okay.
No, this is something that, so it was more like an international document, but Ghana also helped develop one which is our own, you know, factoring in all the local problems and more like localizing it. So that document has actually been developed, and it speaks of long-term plans, which, for example, fit into all the international agreements, like the Paris Agreement, you know, and all of that, reducing carbon emissions, helping industries to help reduce emission, all of that. So that's actually the long-term one. And then there's the short-term plan, and in that document, the amount of money that is needed to help protect the most vulnerable communities is clearly stated. I think it's something over $1 billion. So a number of communities that are really at risk have actually been identified.
Oh, okay.
So we have something that looks very much like a plan which is in place, but as to whether we are ready to really implement it and whether we have the adequate resources to put this in place is a different story. But just the final bit, there's the talk that when it comes to climate change, for example, we in Ghana, we in the developing countries are contributing very little to this, because the assumption is that those who are really polluting the environment are the industrialized nations, India, China, the United States of America. And so if anyone should be doing anything to help deal with the problem, then it should be them. That's the thinking of a number of people. The other school of thought is that it doesn't matter how much you are contributing, even if while you're contributing all over the world in terms of your ranking is the least, you can't be too sure where what they call the tipping point is, the point at which, you know, the environment would move into a mood where destruction is inevitable. And so even the little contribution that you are making to the problem help prevent that in order to help protect the environment. And this problem of sea level rise, it's not just Ghana. In Togo, in Benin, all these coastal countries are experiencing it, and even elsewhere, South America and a number of other countries. But the sad thing is that those countries which are really the huge emitters, they suffer less when it comes to the effects, and we, the developing countries, become even more vulnerable. Hence the need for us all to get involved in taking action to help deal with the problem.
Sure. So Nana, are you in touch with any government agency? Are you doing some work on the ground? What's your story?
I'm doing some work with a couple of colleagues, but they are not in Ghana at the moment. They are in England. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's the work about?
Yeah, we're still studying and monitoring the shoreline, and then to get people together to come so that we can implement the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're doing now.
Are you recommending anything to governments?
Yeah, for now, since the protection is not available, we should just put people together to give information on like what's going to happen, so that people can stay away from it. Yeah. Then we should also try and implement the shoreline management plan, which is there in England, for instance. They have a shoreline management plan. It's all over. I think they're in their second generation. That's what they use to protect their people who live along the shoreline. So, for instance, if you want to buy a house close to the sea, unless it's South Sea Beach or something, they'll tell you this area you cannot get it. It's a no-take zone. You can't do anything there, because they are aware of the conditions over there. Because there's the awareness of this tidal wave issue, and then this coastal stuff is not there enough. People are just staying there, and then when there is a problem, they will come and say, oh, government should come and help us. But the problem is created by we ourselves, because we are not aware of what is causing the problem. Because, for instance, those areas that he shot the video, those are low-lying areas. You saw that even some houses have been accreted and it's almost to the brim of the house. It's not something that we can do anything about. It's something that happens every year. If you should, this video was taken in February, right? If you should go there now, you will know that that area, all the sand there has moved away. But if you go there again next year in February, it will be back. So the solution is getting a proper shoreline management plan in place. If you have that plan in place, then we will know that this area is this. We put growing here we leave it. And then if you are developing a shoreline management plan, there are some areas you do nothing. There are some areas that you advance the line, you change all those. So if you identify all those areas and then we deal with it, like he said, it's happening in Togo, and dealing with coastal issues is not just about only in Ghana. Because if we are able to solve our problems in Ghana by protecting the shoreline, putting in the right measures and all that, the knock-on effect is going to Togo. Then it's going. So I think it should be like a regional something.
Okay.
That's the best solution that we can put together.
Okay.
Because in England they have it all around. If you go to Holland, they have all their plans in place. So before you own a property along the shoreline or something, you are aware of it. You wouldn't just go and then site it up, and then when your building gets eroded away, you say, hey, government didn't help me. So if you have the plans, it's like having your town and country plan ever. If you are building a house, you tell you there's an earthquake zone, you know what you do.
Yeah.
So if we have that plan in place, they will tell us this is what you are supposed to do. Don't build this house, don't get close. Maybe you can build like maybe 500 meters away from it, because we know that the overwash during the bad season is up to this level. So we should do more research and more studies on the coastal processes in those areas. Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Joseph, so it starts showing 6:30 p.m. today?
Yes, it starts showing at 6:30 p.m. today, and then tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Subsequently, it will be out there on YouTube. You would be able to watch it online. It will be out there on my journal online. You'll be able to watch it. But one final very crucial thing. The Ghana Meteorological Agency, elsewhere, they're able to predict. Today at 8 p.m. the storm is coming. People move, and then they move whole communities away to save lives and to save lives, which is the most important thing. Unfortunately, our Meteo agency is not that well resourced. And it came up again with the experts in the discussions in the documentary that it's about time that we put in place a proper early warning system in some of those coastal communities, so that we can foretell that at 6 p.m. today the wave is coming, the storm is coming, let's all move, otherwise lives will be lost. That's probably the short-term problem to help them.
So in this documentary you look at what the problem is, you talk to experts, they give us all the technical explanation, the reasons, and then they also say how we can resolve this. They
offer suggestions on how this can be resolved, and then we tease out from various government officials what the plan is to help deal with this. Unfortunately, a lot of the feedback we got, which you would hear, is that we are virtually in what we call a catch-22 situation, and then the government officials say they are not too sure what the way forward should be. In fact, one particular government official in the discussion recommended a national debate on whether the communities along the coast being hit should be protected with sea defense walls, or they should be relocated.
For real. A national debate.
That's not.
I'm sure we'll have a committee set up pretty shortly.
and so it's kind of funny.
After all these years, with all the experience,
it's kind of interesting. But we're trying to put the whole discussion in perspective. So you'd hear from the experts, you would hear from victims who've lost homes and as a result have become what we term the climate refugees, because then they've been negatively affected and they don't have anywhere to sleep and all of that. And then we hear from the government officials with the assurances and their own analysis of exactly what that problem is.
Let's sustain this conversation, really, because
crucial.
we pick it up and then we leave it, and then some disaster happens and then we'll follow up again. Finally, you want to say something?
He was talking about a Ghana Meteorological Agency not well equipped and all those things. For now, you can even check your phone and then know that it's going to rain in the next 2 hours or 3 hours. It's the same way you can also check your phone and know the conditions at sea.
Okay, so you tell us how do you do your check-in? Where do you go?
I just pick up my phone and then go. I have an account with boyweather.com.
Which one? Spell it.
BOUY.
BOUY.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boyweather.com.
Weather.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I pick it. I select the area. For instance, Accra. Then you check it. Then you see the conditions at sea.
But this is not Ghana Met You. Why can't we have something localized like that? See?
Then what? The only difference that you have is if Ghana they have buoys installed offshore. That one you can get an accurate information on it. But for instance, on the phone, maybe you can see like 1.5 meters. But you get there yourself and it's like 2 meters. But at least you have a fair idea of what's happening. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you are able to interpret it, like you understand the wave periods and everything, it makes it simple for you. So it's like maybe if we have some form of awareness to that one too, it's going to help.
Yeah.
Like the NGOs should also come in and help, because for instance in some places they have coastal groups who come in and inform the people like this was going to happen. Don't do this. Don't do this. They don't allow sand winning and all those things. So like the NGOs can also come in, or the individuals themselves can also receive some training from these NGOs, and then they be like a watchdog for themselves. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this morning. Good insights. I've learnt a lot myself. I'll watch out for that documentary, which is 6:30 p.m. today, and the second part of it, Tuesday 6:30 as well.
Exactly. In fact, the second part, that's where the real meat.
Hey,
really
Joseph. We'll see what the juice he's talking about is. But Nana Kuma Minta is a coastal researcher. Thanks for being here, Nana.
Thank you.
And Joseph Opoku Gakpo. He's one of us.
Stay
with us.
Thanks for
He's a special. He's got expertise in climate change, apparently. We've got AM Talk, and we know, I think the most topical with regards elections and what's happening in our country today is the NPP's campaign launch yesterday. What do you make of it? It was massive. Talk about planning, talk about the personalities that went there. I mean, it was such a big deal. We've got highlights of some of the speeches coming up on AM Talk, and we're going to be analyzing and digesting some of the speeches yesterday as well. But keep your thoughts coming through. 0560 800,000. That's our WhatsApp number. It's exactly 8 a.m. Stay with us.